Start sharing your own testimony. Don't say, I think, I maybe. Don't apologize. Just share the testimony, because the word of God never comes back void. It always accomplishes that for which it was sent by God. And so back to my Gabriel story. After he speaks to me and I see this vision that ends up coming to pass in the exact amount of days that he told me that it would, after he shows me the vision, I said to him, can I hug you? And he said, yes. And I went to hug him, and I felt so much power coming out of him. And I said, God bless you. And he said, oh, no. God bless God. God bless God. This angel would not take any glory. He wouldn't take any praise. No, God bless God. And he grabbed a hold of me. And in that season, the Lord had been teaching me how to utilize our angels. In fact, I had been driving on a freeway overpass, and the Lord was telling me all these different things that I needed to do that day. And I pulled over literally it's probably illegal. I pulled over, put my hazard lights on, and I said, Lord, you're telling me so many different things to do today. I can't possibly get it done. Is this you or are these devils telling me this? And the Lord said, no, you're right. You can't get it all done. So command your angels to do it. And so I was in this season of learning how to command angels. And so Gabriel, or this angel, looks at me and he grabs me and he says, we are all in this together. And he said, remember, Gabriel was like a man. He's like a man. And then I began to walk away, and I was so dumbfounded. I took a few steps away, and then when I turned around to get one more glimpse at him, he was gone. And you have to understand, I was right next to a parking lot. There was nowhere for him to go. There was nowhere for him to, no bush, no corner he could have gone around. He was just gone. I wanted one last look. So what I did was I went home that night and I looked up Gabriel in the Bible to find out what I could about him. And it turned out that Gabriel was sent to Daniel when Daniel had had a vision that was troubling him. That was what happened to me. I'd had a vision of God's judgment toward a local congregation, and it was troubling me, and I was seeking the Lord about answers for it. And so this angel came to give me answers. I also found out that didn't know this prior, that literally the first mention of Gabriel in the Bible, it literally says he was like a man. I didn't know that. But this angel, whether it was Gabriel or not, grabbed my arm and said, remember, Gabriel was like a man. He's like a man. Now, I want to unpack for you a little bit what this judgment was all about, because it pertains to today, many years later. You see, when I saw the building lifted up by the angel, and I saw the snakes and the worms and the creepy crawling things all underneath it, my assumption was something like, we're going to find out that there's child molesters at that congregation. We're going to find out that there's grand theft taking place, that there's money laundering. I mean, when I thought of snakes and worms and creepy crawling things, that I thought of some of the more egregious carnal sins. But what happened was, at the end of the day, and one day I'll share the whole story, it's much too long. At the end of the day, the judgment was they were being judged for prayerlessness. The pastor had made public declarations of commitments to prayer earlier in the year, and he wasn't living up to them. And God was judging them, all of their finances. They were making an announcement that all of their finances were just going away. And they had been one of the wealthier congregations in the region for some time. And they were making emergency announcements about shutting things down. And they were being judged for prayerlessness. See, a lot of people, you let yourself off the hook for being prayerless or for not being devoted to prayer, but God sees it as the result of snakes and worms and creepy crawling things. Prayerlessness is sin. Prayerlessness is pride. Prayerlessness is sin. It's prideful. I love how people have turned humility into a personality trait. So if you're bold as a lion, you're more likely to be accused of being proud. But humility was never a personality trait. Humility is wholehearted dependence on the Lord. And that manifests in lots of different personalities. Prayerlessness is sin. Because if you think you can get away without being prayerful, without being devoted to prayer, then what you're saying is that I don't need God to help me with my life. You know, when I tell people that when I was pastoring and people would come up after speaking and they would say, hey, I have this problem. And I mean, 90% of their problems just go away if they just spent an hour a day on their knees. That is still true today.
You're the one the angels cry out to. You're the one the elders cast their crowns before.